We've reported on Ukraine receiving more weapon reinforcements in its war with Russia, this time from the Netherlands and Denmark. The two countries announced they've been given approval by the United States to donate F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. Up to 61 more planes will be sent as early as next year. The move is being called a breakthrough by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Seth Jones joins us for more to talk about this. He's the Senior Vice President at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. So, Seth, what does this acquisition actually mean? And what does it allow the Ukrainians to do that they have not been able to do?
Well, I think this is a pivotal acquisition for the Ukrainians, something that they've been asking for, something that their senior leaders have told me repeatedly that would be helpful for suppression of enemy air defense, Russian air defense systems, for close air support, for forward deployed Ukrainian forces moving into Russian-controlled territory. Without significant air support, I think it's going to be really hard for Ukraine to take back additional territory. No Western military, including the United States, would ever fight a war like this with just ground forces. It needs a significant air component. The F-16s help enormously in this effort.
So they need planes in the air to make progress on the ground. Is that essentially the way to think about it?
Absolutely. Ukrainians need air in addition to ground forces. This gives them a significant air option. Their Russian-made aircraft are pretty depleted at this point.
And what is 61? What does that number suggest to you? Is that enough, or has a door been opened now, maybe that now the U.S., which has been reluctant to do anything like this itself, might help, or that the situation might be changed because of these 61 now going to Ukraine?
Well, 61 is helpful. Ukraine's probably going to need more over the next couple of months and years. It's also going to need the spare parts, mechanics, and the munitions, the missiles that will go on these aircraft. But it's a start, and a start is something that on aircraft the Ukrainians haven't been able to get since the war began.
Do you think the U.S. posture will change with respect to donating planes itself to Ukraine?
I hope so. I think it would be helpful for Ukraine. The U.S. has a lot of aircraft, F-15s, F-16s, A-10s, that the U.S. is not using anymore, and some of its partners and allies aren't using anymore, that it could donate to Ukraine. So Ukraine has asked for them. The U.S. has them to give, certainly should.
Seth, what do you think about? So I think the old argument used to be, the fear was that F-16s would allow Ukrainian pilots to fly into Russian airspace and into Russia itself. That was at least one of the things I think U.S. policymakers were saying when those who were reluctant. Is there any concern about that retaliation as a result of this, or that this might take the fight inside Russia and that might cause a kind of retaliation?
Well, I would say two things in response. One is the Ukrainians have shown at every step of this war that they're willing to work with the United States when it provides weapons on what it can and can't do with those weapons. So I think the U.S. signals very clearly does not want these aircraft to be used to strike targets in Russia. Ukraine has generally been willing to do it. Second of all, there have been fears that Russia might escalate at multiple parts of the war. And I think as we've seen with HIMARS, with a range of other weapon systems that the U.S. and Western states have provided to Russia, that Putin has not escalated. So I think those fears have been significantly exaggerated.
Yeah, there have been a lot of instances in which escalation just hasn't happened. As a final question, is it diplomatically better for the U.S. posture and also for keeping Europe committed that this donation was made not by the United States, by other countries, which shows a kind of they're willing to put their money where their mouth is, if that's one way to put it?
Yeah, I do think it's helpful for a range of Western countries, particularly NATO countries, to share the burden of providing weapons to Ukraine, because it does show a multilateral effort. If this is all the U.S. Could have done, providing those weapons from a U.S. standpoint would have been good enough. But I think this does show, you've got countries like the Netherlands and Denmark, this does show a multilateral aspect, and it shows, I mean, that's important.
All right, Seth Jones, Senior Vice President at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Thank you so much, Seth.
Thank you.